Okay, so thank you so much for agreeing to interview with me. And before we start, could you just tell me your name and maybe where you're from?
Okay, my name is Karen Donaldson. I was born in Belize, but now live in Jamaica.
Okay, and how long have you been living there?
Um, Definitely over 40 years.
For 40 years. Okay, very cool. Well, today I'm just going to ask you a few questions about maybe a place that you know very well there and a bit about how it's changed. Uh, can you think of a place that maybe it's special to you or that you know, let's say, better than another place in Jamaica?
Well, I would probably have to say the house that I spent a lot of my early years growing up, my father's house in Red Hills,
Red Hills.
up in the hills of Kingston, Jamaica.
Okay, very cool. And can you describe for me how the place looked before, maybe 20 years ago?
20 years ago. Well, one thing that stands out in my memory is we were on the cliff on the mountainside overlooking the city, and there were a lot of very visible dry limestone rocks all along the mountainside with big cracks and crevices, and I remember always scorpions would emerge from these cracks, and 40 legs and those sort of dangerous creatures. So we would capture them and put them in jars and collect them. I remember also we were always surrounded by large expanses of fields, usually quite brown, dry. Um, the houses, not a lot of housing development at the time, and the houses that were around us were quite small, like our house, not very big. There were a lot of trees, lots of fruit trees, mangoes, guineps, cherries. We used to pick those and do all sorts of things with the fruit. And there was also an incredible view of the city of Kingston from our long veranda. And we would watch the cars go by from there.
Wow, very cool. Sounds like a nice place to grow up. Could you tell me maybe a bit about how the place has changed? What it looks like now?
Like 20 years later,
Yeah, or even.
no more scorpions. I haven't seen scorpions for over 20 years in Jamaica. Well, those jagged limestone rocks are no longer visible. Whether from construction and building up and being covered over with grass nowadays. When I look around when I'm at that house, the houses around now are huge. I mean, they dwarf our house now. The style of building has changed, not just huge, but much more modern style buildings, less concrete and more sort of wooden accents in the houses. Um, Much less land and open spaces, of course, because of all the construction sites, much less fruit trees. Um, the view of the city, too, from the veranda is very different. When we used to observe the cars going by, and now so many more cars. I mean, there's a terrible problem of congestion of cars because, of course, the roads have not been developed to meet the influx of cars that have come into Jamaica. So the roads are at least 3 times as many cars with no improvement of the roads. Much less red dirt too. It used to be, that's why it was called Red Hills, all the red dirt from the bauxite. Maybe we don't see it as much anymore because of all the construction and the covering over and the man-made changes.
Wow. Okay. Very cool.
Hot too, I think.
Pardon?
I feel like it's a lot hotter
Oh,
now.
hotter. Okay. Wow. Much like a lot of other places in the world, I presume. But another question. What are some of the things that you used to do here?
Well, I have great memories of when my little nephews would come over as toddlers, and we would play with the water hose with them outside, shower them outdoors. Of course, now you can't do that sort of thing because we have water restrictions. When the place was rampant with fruit trees, we would go outside and eat the mangoes, and the juice running down your arms. And we don't do that anymore, not even when the little children are up, because it just feels like it's so hot. And don't spend as much time outdoors anymore. I suppose in the past the gardens of the house were very well kept by my grandmother. I have memories of going out at nights to spare the slugs that would come out at dusk, or maybe it was because it was cooler in the afternoon, she would go out then. So she'd spare the slugs to protect her plants. Not much of that garden left now. And certainly because of the fruit trees, we used to make cherry juice and cherry sorbet, and pick and eat the guineps, but those trees are not around anymore.
Oh, wow. Okay, and maybe if you could describe for me what some of the things that you do here now are?
Nowadays, well, my father is there, and we go and visit with him. Very different sort of visits now, since it's indoors, and we still go and sit on the veranda and look out at the city of Kingston, especially at night when it appears to be so calm and peaceful. I find that the city is a lot noisier nowadays. Maybe culture of the people has changed, or maybe I'm older. It seems much noisier, more indisciplined, a lot of blaring music and things come up from the city. It used to be much more peaceful. Of course, the gardens are less beautiful, as I said, and not as manicured. Well, and there's even a little potted ganja plant on my dad's veranda now, which couldn't have happened. Only recently that became legal to have a small amount of ganja there. Of course, this is just for decoration. So we go up just to have Sunday lunch with him and spend a little time.
Wow. Well, this was lovely. Thank you so much for allowing me to interview Miss Karen Donaldson of Jamaica. And I look forward to maybe hearing from you in the future. Thank you.